She's nicknamed the Martha Stewart of Ranana by my daughters. Lisa Starr is a cooking enthusiast and a lover of culinary shortcuts. She has spent many years running her own cooking
As
school.
president, I had the honor of addressing our leaders in more than 54 Muslim nations. Really wonderful and beautiful occasion. I want to thank all of the members of Congress.
It's a wonderful thing to be up against. So just patience. Anyway, so Lisa spent many years running her cooking schools in South Africa and in Israel, and is now happily based at Meatland. Lisa is taking today's opportunity to demonstrate easy and delicious ways to make this a Rosh Hashanah to remember. Lisa is a veteran presenter on the Telfed online events. Thank you so much for giving of your time, expertise to the Telfed family. We wish you all Shana Tova Umetuka.
Thank you. All right, well, thank you very much for that wonderful introduction. And just want to make sure everyone can hear me properly and see me hopefully properly. All okay? All right. Now, unfortunately, there has to be some sort of trade-off. Either you see me and you don't see the counter as well as I would like, or you see the counter and you see me from like the neck downwards. So if there's anything people can't see, please let me know. Just, I don't know, send a message or whatever will let me know. And I can always do something and like lift something like this and stop, because I really want you to get maximum benefit from today. So we'll rely on you for your feedback over there. Okay. But again, a very warm welcome to everyone to, I think, what is the most unusual Rosh Hashanah any of us remember. And hopefully it will be a one-off. I know that when Pesach came along, I was sure that by Rosh Hashanah, there was no way that we were going to be wearing masks and talking about social distancing. Okay.
We're okay. There's somebody that keeps coming in, and it's, of course, important.
If everyone can mute their microphones, please, so we can have the best experience and hear Lisa. Please, can everyone else please keep yourself on mute? Thank you.
All right.
There you go, Lisa.
Okay. All ready to go. Okay. So here we are. So as I was saying, this is a Rosh Hashanah unlike any Rosh Hashanah we've ever experienced. And I know that although we all want to make a fuss because it isn't just Friday night, it is an occasion that we want to be able to celebrate and to mark. No one wants to spend that much time and effort when we've all kind of a little tired of the kitchen, tired of the effort that we have to put in. So you want to really get maximum impact with minimal effort is very much what we're trying to achieve. So that's exactly what I'm going to be showing you tonight. Lots of quick and easy tricks to really achieving wonderful meals, but real shortcuts. So that's very much my thinking behind today's lesson. So we're going to start off first by doing different versions of challah, where I'm going to show you really quick, easy ways to make challah. There's nothing conventional about it. It's very much shortcuts, which I think that everyone seems to welcome. So we'll get started with that. I'll just get my warm water going. This won't be a conventional dough where you're going to be getting out your big mixers and mixing for 10 or 15 minutes. I haven't ever got the energy for any recipe that says knead for 5 minutes or till elastic or whatever, when I can do no knead doughs where a lot of the work takes place in the fridge. When you put a dough into the refrigerator overnight, the glutens develop overnight and you find that you get a really good rise even without that effort. So really the hard work is being done for you just by literally refrigerating overnight. So that's what we're going to be doing. So all I'm going to be doing first is just starting with some warm water. So start with 1 cup of warm water.
Arab Emirates, and to you.
Just like a kettle, a watch kettle won't boil, a watch Tammy Arbor won't either. So just give me 1 second and I'll be with you right now. There we go. So we're just going to be doing 1 cup of warm water. And then into that, I'm going to be doing my yeast. A lot of people often ask me, what do I mean by instant yeast? Of course, I buy it in a huge container like this, but you can get the little like foil shrink-wrapped packages and at really any supermarket along with the baking equipment. So I'm going to be doing 2 teaspoons of yeast, and then I'm going to be adding my sugar to that. So we want to make it slightly sweeter. This dough as well is really, really good for making cinnamon buns as well. So remember that as well. So we would just let that just sit for a couple of minutes. Often when I'm doing a demonstration like this, I have to take shortcuts, obviously, because we haven't got the time to wait. At the end of the day, it always ends up working anyhow, which shows you that even if you take shortcuts at home, you will get to sort of very similar results. A lot of the recipes that I often promote are the real quick, easy recipes that really don't require any special skills or any special effort. That's what I'm going to be achieving today. So in an ideal world, I would have waited a couple more minutes for that to froth up. I haven't got that time today, so we're going to just go straight into it. Activated the yeast, and we're just going to be taking regular flour, and we're going to put in 4 cups of flour. You can see that my measuring is not terribly precise, but at the end of the day, I can always add slightly more if needed. And then it's going to be 1 egg added as well. So we'll do that. And then into that, we're also going to add our olive oil, 3 tablespoons of olive oil. There we go. I always love recipes that don't require me to take out an electric mixer. So I'm just mixing that up. Okay. And basically, once I have a dough, I'm going to show you in just a second, no more effort than just waiting till all the flour has been pretty much absorbed. Pretty much like that, like a shaggy dough. And all I would do is just leave that. That's as long as it's going to take to make my challah. And I'm now just going to cover that and leave it for 40 minutes and then put it in the refrigerator overnight. So I've now got dough left set aside as well, but that's exactly it. That's as much of the effort I'm going to invest in making my bread. So that will go over there. And now I'm going to show you how to prepare it. Oh, and by the way, I know that people don't have the recipes yet. I will be able to send those to you tomorrow. I know that Aviva has people's email addresses and people who registered, she'll be able to send it across there. I do know that quite a few people came to me through Facebook or through WhatsApp or whatever. So if you don't get the recipes, you can drop me a line either on Facebook, obviously, or through the Meatland page or through my WhatsApp, and be able to track me down because I'll have everything all typed up and ready to go. Here's my dough that's been sitting overnight, and I'm going to show you a couple of ways of working with it. Super, super easy, no effort required, and very much in keeping with a Rosh Hashanah theme. So, here we go. Firstly, of course, at this time of the year, you want to get your round challah. But when I go on YouTube, you'll have to see the tutorials for a round challah. You actually need some sort of degree to be able to follow every little instruction where you have to follow the screen so carefully, and we don't want that. So I'm going to show you a quick version of that. So I've just divided my dough into 2. And now I'm going to try and make 2 long sausages. Now, when you work with a dough like this, you can see it's perfectly rollable, if that's a word. It hasn't got the same texture as a dough that's been kneaded for 15 minutes, but it gives really, really good results at the end of the day. And in this particular chag, but even in general life, I find that no knead breads give such great results that I tend to always recommend those. So we've now just taken 2 strands. So you can see they're pretty much a similar size. And then I've pinched the top. Can't see this bit, I know, but I am going to turn it over for you. And then I'm just taking just 2, as you can't go wrong with just 2. And I'm just rolling the one over the next. As I said, here. And here is just your braid with just the 2. Now what I'm doing is and there isn't a way actually of rolling and lifting it, so I'm going to show you. I will tell you, I'm working from the top. I'm going to be just literally rolling it like this into a spiral. And by spiraling it, you end up with a perfectly nice round challah, which once it's baked looks exactly the same as those very complicated chalot that involve lots and lots of folding and numbers and so on. So that's it. I'm going to just put that into a tray and we're going to bake it. Normally I've let it rise for another sort of 20 minutes or so, but I'm going to get great results by just baking it exactly as it is. So that'll just go straight onto our case, our tin over there. Now I want to do a really nice sugar topping for these. So you'll see in very fancy bakeries, they've got almost like a sugar crumble on challahs. So that's how I'm going to achieve that look. So we're looking over there. And just brush on some egg. And then our crumble. To make the crumble, and as I said, you will get all the recipes. It's super simple, just flour and sugar, a little bit of canola oil, and then a pinch of vanilla, and a little bit of vanilla, and of course salt, which we will get into in just a minute. And so that's a really nice crumble that can go on any challah during the Rosh Hashanah when you really are wanting something sweet and you've got your lovely round challah. So we'll just do our crumble on top of that. And that's now ready to go into the oven. So again, as I said, possibly I would have let it sit for a little while, but I'm going to get great results regardless in the oven by just applying heat. So there's your round challah without all the effort, and once it bakes up, it looks really, really good. So here, we do that. And I'm going to show you a second challah shape where this is a really interesting one. Challah, a round challah everyone expects. But I want to be able to show you a pomegranate as well, with a little holder to hold honey as well. I'm going to show you that. So same thing again, I've done the dough exactly the same way, where I mixed it up last night, put it in the refrigerator, and it's now perfect to use. And as I said, remember that this is a grape dough as well to be able to make cinnamon buns as well. So here's our dough. And this time, we're going to actually divide it into 3. So it's just your regular braid of just 3 pretty much equal sized balls. So same again. Now I find it really, really elastic. Can everyone hear properly or see properly?
Yes, perfectly. Perfect.
Okay. Great. Amazing. Yes, we had a bit of a camera crisis before we all started. So running around and we were trying with all different cameras, but in the end went for the trusty version. So just feel free to shout if there's something that's not clear. Okay, so what I'm doing now is I'm making a braid with just your regular 3 flashing it over. And don't worry too much if they aren't exactly perfect. No one ever notices in the little detail like that. I used to always have students who would say to me, are you meant to put the foil facing upwards or downwards when they do something? And I've said that no one has ever eaten something and said, oh, this is delicious, but I can see that you didn't put the foil up the right way. Same thing here, where when you're making something, no one is ever looking to say, oh, I can see that your one braid was slightly thicker than the other. So it makes no difference. So you can see it hopefully over there. Well, you can't really, but it is, I promise, just in your 3. There we are. So just a regular braid that seems to work quite well. Learning all the time. So we're just going to braid it. Now, actually, I've pinched the top together, but I'm not going to be pinching the bottom. So I'll tell you why in a minute. So just braiding it over, just as you would any traditional challah. And I'm going to show you exactly what I've done at the bottom. There we are. So you can see I haven't pinched the last bits at the end. So I've pinched the top over there, but I haven't pinched that bottom bit. Because what I'm going to do now is I want to make my pomegranate. So taking my tray and that, I'm going to be taking a little bowl, something that's going to be oven proof. And then over here, and we're going to take our plait that we've made and just wrap it around the bowl. This is a bigger bowl than I had worked with when I was practicing my different versions. So just 1 second. Sorry about that. When I had made it, I made it with a soup bowl, and it worked perfectly well when I was doing different versions of this. But I had visions of suddenly just bursting in the oven, and that wasn't very good camera work. It's happened before in a class that I once had a lid of a pot explode. I didn't want to repeat that, so we'll just use something a little bit more sort of oven friendly for sure. So I've just put that in the center.
Sorry to interrupt. We've had a request to see your workspace.
Okay.
Yeah, what you're doing. Thank you.
Perfect, that's fine. I'm going to show you just over here. So the thing is, here, now how are you doing with the workspace? I'm glad that people are telling me. Now, if I do this, can you see? You all okay?
That's great.
All right, so I can keep on doing that. And then, yeah. So as you can see, what I've done is I wrapped the dough around my bowl in the center. Can you see that? And I know it's actually pretty much upside down, so I'm going to show you more that way. So what I've done is I have wrapped the bowl it's in the middle with my dough around it. So it was a plait, and then I've left my top parts open, and then what's going to happen is I'm going to bake that up with that bowl in the center. And when it's baked, you'll see later on, of course, once it's baked, it's going to be easier to be able to lift up. Once it's baked, it looks like a pomegranate. And then in the center where you've got your bowl, that bowl over there, you can then put your honey. We will hopefully ensure a sweet new year that way. So here we go. Just brushing that with my egg. And we're doing some sprinkles of sugar on top again, because never to have too much sugar at Rosh Hashana. So that will go straight into the oven. If I was letting this rise beforehand, I would, can you all see pretty much, and it's a very bad angle, but if I do it any further, it's going to slip right off. But it's going to, when it's baked up, you'll be able to see you get your pomegranate shape. So just your top little 3 prongs are sticking up, and that's going to make your crown of your pomegranate. So that'll just go in the oven, and you'll get to see that shortly. All right, so And we're now going to move on to doing another quick trick, which is we're going to be making, I'll just get it from the refrigerator. Here we go. Nowadays, I find that in every family you have at least one vegetarian, one vegan, lots of, or you have both. But a lot of people are also moving away from always having meat every day. You have your meat-free Mondays, and it's very much a trend that's taking over the world. And sometimes it's quite fun to be able to introduce foods in different ways. So what I'm going to show you today is how to make, believe it or not, smoked salmon, or something that really looks and feels and certainly in every way will remind you of a smoked salmon, just using carrots. So that's really an innovative one. And I do have a magic ingredient that I'm going to talk to you about first. So we're just going to heat up some water over there. And I'm just taking my carrots and let's see, trying to work in all the there we go. So we've got just everyday carrot, the bigger the better in this case, because we want to be able to get nice thick slices. I love this peeler, so it's something to look out for. You can find them pretty easily at most kitchen shops. And what's really nice about it, it's got a really wide top, and it's also great for cabbage. If you're going to be making cabbage and coleslaw, whatever, you literally slice your cabbage and then you just do like run this against the surface of the cut surface, and you get a really nice thin cabbage, which is great for cabbage salads or whatever it is. So I'm going to be making my strips. So just peel your carrot. Now, there we go. Here's your carrot strips over there, nice and thin. And I'm just going to heat those up for a little while, just to be able to get them to the point where they're a little bit softer. And then I'm going to take my vinegar. We're going to do 1/3 of a cup of an apple cider vinegar, or thereabouts. There we are. And then into that, we're going to also be doing some sugar. And some salt. The salt that I'm going to use here, if I can find it's my first chance I've had a chance to talk about my absolute favorite ingredient, molten salt. Anyone who's ever done any of my classes will know that there's nothing I recommend more highly than molten salt. I often have people say, what's all the fuss about? What's so special about the salt? It's a far more gentle salt than regular salt. It's great for using on garnishing. If you're going to be eating a salad, you can be having an egg. If you're going to be making anything with chocolate, I will always sprinkle molten salt all over it. So it's a wonderful, wonderful salt, much cleaner in flavor. In fact, once you get used to molten salt, you can never go back. And obviously this is at Meatland and it's currently on sale. So good time. If you're going to invest in molten salt, now's the time. So I've got my vinegar, I've got my sugar. I'm going to add a little bit of salt. And then to that, my magic ingredients, and this is something that we don't have in stock right now, but it's coming back within the next couple of weeks, and it really is a magic ingredient. It's called liquid smoke, and it gives a wonderful smoky flavor to whatever you're making. So here I'm going to be adding it to my carrots, but like as an example, it's vegan. So you could rub this onto vegetables and give it like a mushroom. They always say that mushrooms are vegetarians' meat. So if you had a drizzle a tiny little bit, it's very, very strong. Drizzle a tiny little bit into mushrooms, you're going to get like a real meaty flavor. You can rub it into vegetables. You can also take a piece of chicken and rub it into chicken, and then when you cook it, you're going to get a smoked chicken flavor. You can add it to marinades. You can add it with cheese, because as I said, it's vegetarian. It gives that like smoky cheese flavor. So wonderful ingredient in here with my fake salmon. It's amazing. So I'm going to add some of that. As I said, a little bit goes a long way. This will last you forever, because you're never going to use more than half a teaspoon to a teaspoon at a time. And this video doesn't come with a smell, but it's really got this amazing like hickory smell coming through. You get two types. It's actually a really interesting way, the way they make it. There's two types of wood. This is mesquite and there's also a hickory. And it literally is made by forcing heat through a wood chamber. And you know when you force heat through something and you get the little droplets of water that form on the top. So the liquid is actually the droplets of water that will form on top of your wood, and then it's bottled, and it has that wood flavor, which is why you get two different types of wood, and you really do get a different flavor from each because it's based on those two different woods. So we've got that over there. And then I'm just going to add some mustard seeds. Now, the truth is that all the little extras like the mustard seeds or nori sheets are optional. You don't have to add that in. But as long as you've got the liquid smoke and the vinegar and the sugar, you're pretty much done. So I wanted to get a real fishy taste. So I'm going to do that over there. That's just a little bit of nori that I've added. And I'm now going to take my little carrot strips over there, and they've now softened, drop them in, and then literally leave that for about a day, 2 days. The longer it sits, the better it gets, because you really do get that amazing salmon-y flavor coming through. So we'll just show you. So literally put that into a bottle or a jar, whatever it is, or a Tupperware, and you're going to have that just sitting, and you can add some fresh dill to that. But really what you're waiting for to do its magic is going to definitely be the liquid smoke, which is what is very much our secret ingredient. And just to show you over here, I've just got a cracker, and what I'll often do is you can just take some cheese and just pop that onto a cracker. And then we're going to just take some of that so-called salmon. And people are amazed. I'll do this on bagels, I'll do it on crackers, I'll do it definitely in salads, which I'm going to show you shortly. But you really get an amazing effect. So that's got some dill over there. We have some capers over here. Well, and I will show you this more carefully now. So there we are. I really want you to see that. But if you're going to be serving that, people really enjoy it. And it really looks and feels very much like salmon. You can also make your fake salmon from sweet potato, because obviously it has similar color and so on, but it's carrots that really become really soft and very much like salmon. So you've got that effect over there. And put that into crackers, put that into salads. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you a deconstructed sushi salad, sort of sushi cake idea. So there's your thinking over there. See where I've so this time of the year, last thing you want to do is be rolling sushi, even if you do want to spoil your family. But it's really nice to be able to get your definitely your feel of sushi, your taste of sushi, with the rice and salad, your rice and your greens, and of course your salmon. So what I've done is I've stacked all my ingredients in like a cake version. So it's making like a sushi cake. So all I had done over here, we'll just find a plate. There we go. Is take your springform or your little round tin, wherever it is. I've lined mine with plastic to just make sure that it comes out neatly, but generally it always does. So we'll just open that up. And then, yes. Was there someone had to say something? So lifting that up, there we are. So you've got your layers. You can see when I took it out, I had a can of tomatoes on top of it. because you want to press that down and compress it. But you would then have your rice with your fake salmon, and I've done cucumbers and I've done dill, and you can now lift that up over there, and here we are. So I've just got that just like that, almost like a sushi cake. And when you slice into it, you get all the different colors of your cucumber, and I've got avocado, and I've got my salmon. You of course can use real salmon. You don't have to use your carrot salmon, but just the concept was just something a little bit different. So there's our rice just over there, and then I wanted to decorate it. So what I've done is I've just taken a sheet of acetate, but you could use actually just cardboard or even just paper, and you can see I've cut 2 slits into it, 2 long slits, and I'm going to do some white sesame seed in the one, and some black sesame seed in the second. So this is the point where trying to lift it is going to be harder. But here we are. So you've got your stripes. It's a really nice way as well to decorate cakes as well, just using that. So all this is sushi rice, and again, I'll tell you how to make that. But basically, it's just a rice that you cook it at medium heat, just leave the lid on, and then you're going to add your rice vinegar and sugar and salt to that, so it makes it nice and sticky, and then just set that aside. And then I've done my different layers, just as I said, in a spring form. And when you slice into it, you'd be able to see all it really slices really nicely. So instead of people getting a roll of sushi, which is far too much effort, you get all the sides over there, all the different layers. So quick, easy way of doing your sushi. Or you can also do it as a sushi, like a bowl, where everything is just all served in a bowl. So I'm going to show you all my ingredients there. There we go. Everyone all out there, it's very, very quiet. Same thing again, we're taking your ingredients, the main ingredients, and we're just going to take that and we're going to include our rice that left over. This is nice to make individual servings of a rice salad. So the same as your rice. And in all honesty, if you didn't use sushi rice and you used just a basmati rice, once you add the vinegar to it and the sugar to it, you get very much the same sort of feel. So we've got our rice over there, and then we're going to just serve it into, just make it like little individual servings. So I'm going to be including in here some carrots. And this, I said, you'll do one for each person. You can do some spring onion. And then I've got some cucumber. There we go. And I'm also going to do some edamame because that's just nice and adds a nice texture and a nice bite over there. And then into the corner of that, you can do some sliced up. I've done some the nori, which is just the seaweed, just like that. And once you mix it, like as I said, everyone would get their own individual servings over there. And then you can either take the salmon that we've made earlier on, your fake salmon, or you can take your smoked salmon and use that instead. So you've made a little bowl. I am going to show you this because you want to see it all prettily. And then we've just got a dressing, which is, I'm not going to be dressing it now, but just your, here we go. So can everyone see that over there? So it looks really nice. It's now very popular. They're called poke bowls, P-O-K-E. but it's pronounced poke bowls. And you can do it with tuna, you can do it with salmon, you can do it with your fake salmon that we've made over here. And you really can vary the ingredients. I think one of the things, oh, I knew the one color was missing. And when people who are on the Zoom lesson, who would attended my lessons, will know that I used to always talk about how red is your most important color. Whenever you are doing any food, you'll often look and you'll think, there's a color missing, what color is it? You should always try and bring in red. Red has amazing appetite appeal. So always try and add in your tomatoes, add in radishes, add in red pepper, add in a red fruit. So actually now when I held this up to you, I thought, oh, I'm not happy with it because it's missing red. And that's when I remembered that what I had included as well was going to be my red of my, actually I'm doing pomegranates instead of doing the conventional sort of radishes or something, but we want to keep it nice and seasonal. So the moment you add red, you can see immediately it all comes to life. So that's why you'll find that often like food chains, their logo will be red, or the restaurants will be red, or fast food places often have red, because red is a color with appetite appeal, which is a reason why I always say, don't buy blue plates. No food looks good on blue. Always like try and go for food that actually reflects the colors that reflect the food. So whether it's green or cream or something, but you can see that the red just brings it alive. So you've got that, and you can make these up very easily for everyone. You really are just making your rice and just serving them separately. And once you eat it, once you sort of, a forkful tastes like a forkful of sushi. Your mouth can't tell that it wasn't very carefully wrapped in seaweed, and it has all the components of your rice, of your seaweed, of your cucumber, your salmon, your vegetables, and then I've got a really nice, just a soya and sort of soya dressing, and you're just going to include it like that over there. So we have that over there, and then still within that theme of wanting to achieve really impressive results without investing effort. Here I'm going to have to turn away from you for a minute as well, just to be able to just put some water, and I want to show you just rice noodles, and really most of these ingredients are really easy to come by. Oh, the one thing I forgot to add was going to be my avocado in that. So what you didn't see me adding was I would have added avocado, and I do have layers of avocado in my my sushi stack. So I'm just going to show you this very, very quickly with the rice noodles. Also a great trick to know about. Okay, here we are. So, for a little while. I've always really enjoyed eating, but never, ever, ever making Vietnamese spring rolls. Vietnamese spring rolls are made with these rice papers. Easy to find those. We have them at Meatland. You can get them in supermarkets, but certainly we have them along with everything else you're going to be seeing today. And the thing, the way you work with these is you dip them into water, and then when you do, they become very pliable. But they're amazingly difficult to work with. They really are sticky. And although, as I said, it's great to eat with the spring rolls, it's no fun at all to make them. You dip into water like that, but within a few seconds, they start to stick to your fingers and to the towel and to the surface, and you can only do it last minute. But Vietnamese spring rolls look something like this at the end, where it is vegetables wrapped in your rice paper, and then you can use that with your soya dipping sauce and ginger dipping sauce that we used earlier on. But there you can see this is already starting to stick to itself and stick to your fingers, and as I said, it's something you have to do last minute. So this gives you, just as the deconstructed sushi salad or the deconstructed sushi cake gave you the feeling that you're having sushi without the hard work of having to actually make it, this is exactly the same. We're going to take the same ingredients and we're going to combine it. So I'm going to be making, so all I did was I took those rice noodles and you saw I just poured boiling water over them, only for about 2 minutes, which is as long as this is probably taken. We're going to take those and just drain it off. And now we have all our ingredients ready to go. Yesterday was my birthday. My daughter gave me this beautiful bowl, so you're all getting to see me use it for the first time. And if she's out there, she can as well. So it's the perfect size for this. So here we've got our rice noodles, and as I said, it's exactly the same as those very difficult to work with little round circles. Just soaked in water for all of 2 minutes, hot water, and then again our same ingredients. That would go into those little rice paper wraps. You just add them. So I spoke to you earlier on about how that amazing peeler gives you really nice thin strands. You just, as I said, slice the cabbage in half and then literally just run it across the surface, and you get these really nice thin pieces like that. So your thin pieces of your cabbage. But of course, to make it even easier for yourself, you can just buy it ready sliced. And then I'm going to do the same with some carrots. And I have some coriander. We'll talk about coriander in just a second. And I just happen to have a little couple of, the bread doesn't go into it really, but it's going to look so good. So same sort of thing with just the red. Now, coriander, people always have this thing, whether or not you're a lover or a hater. I love coriander. I'm very careful not to use it too much at Meatland or in any recipes I send out, because I know that there are people who hate it more than anything. I always say that I know how people feel about coriander because I know how I feel about Marmite. So anyone who really hates coriander, I totally get it, because I feel the same about Marmite. But the one mistake that people make whenever they're substituting coriander is that they often say, oh, I don't like coriander, can I substitute parsley instead? Parsley is the worst possible substitute for coriander, because the only thing really that they have in common is they both look similar. But then salt and sugar look exactly the same, but you would never ever substitute salt for sugar or vice versa. So the same, parsley is a very bad substitute for coriander. So it's totally okay not to like it. And as I said, I know that there are people out there who really do have a problem with it. But what I would put in instead would always be mint, goes really well in something like this, or basil. Both basil and mint are great substitutes in recipes for coriander. So you can always substitute those. Is a comment there from someone? So here we are. And then it would really just be a case of taking your ingredients and just mixing it together. And this makes an amazing, amazing salad. It also keeps really well. I would only mix it just before you're serving it, but then if you do have leftovers the next day, it tastes really good. So I wouldn't make it in advance. What you would do in advance is you could do all those separate little bags and then just combine it shortly before serving, or an hour or so before serving. But it keeps really, really well till the next day. If you have leftovers, you can add nuts to it. You can add, yeah, pretty much anything to it. You could add, if you wanted to, you could add your salmon to this if you wanted. There's no real rules about it. But generally, it would be based on those very fiddly and sticky, very enjoyable but hard to make Vietnamese spring rolls. And what you would do with the Vietnamese spring rolls, normally when you serve them, is that you would just take your dipping sauce and then just dip it in before you eat it. That's what I'm doing over here, just dipping it into your dipping sauce. But when you're making it as a salad, you would take that dipping sauce, which is soy sauce and oil, a little bit of sugar, ginger, and then you can just pour it all over. And as I said, you will get all the recipes all nicely packaged up with really simple ways of making it. So we've now got through that. I've actually completely forgotten about our bread. Let's see how that's doing over here. Yeah, that's looking really good. I'm going to just give it another minute or so. And I'm just going to talk to you about desserts. So we've got really, really quick desserts. Again, no one has the energy. A lot of people have suddenly gone from having 15 people for their regular Rosh Hashanah to 2 or 4 or 6. But I really want people to make a fuss of a new year, and hopefully a happy, healthy year. So we want to at least be able to do something a little bit special. So I've done some really super quick, super delicious, and very impressive looking ways of serving your dessert. So I want to talk about our magic ingredients that everyone would know about, being lotus spread. So here's our lotus spread. I'm just going to go and get our cake, which I've had sitting in the fridge at the back. Okay, so just a little cake over here because it was a little socially distant dinner. I'll tell you an interesting story with this. I wanted to make a couple of small cakes so that I could show you how to sort of decorate them. And I went online. I didn't feel like taking out my mixer. So I went online and I looked for sort of like 1 bowl cake recipes. I thought, didn't want to take out my mixer to make my regular vanilla cake. And I was so unhappy with the end result. This is the end result. This is from my online version, where you can see it didn't level out properly. And I thought, okay, I'm going to do what everyone always tells me works best, and is certainly always reliable. And I used a Duncan Hines cake mix, and it was amazing. They just came out like perfectly flat and level, and just worked out so differently. And that's what I'm going to be decorating. And then I've used that. I've just done a Duncan Hines as well, vanilla, and the good thing about this one is that it is parve, so, and the cake is as well. So just iced it with that. We're making, it's called a naked cake, and you can just see, here's my second cake over there, which is, you can just see that it's nice and level on top compared to our rather brick-like one. So when you're doing a cake for a occasion, you just want to just decorate it and make it look good, and you want something that's going to be reliable, this is the one time I would say, yeah, it definitely does work and give you the really good results. Now, something like this, it's so funny. I always say, like, I release my inner kind of like Polish grandmother when it comes to food. I always hate to waste anything. So what I plan to do with this is to slice it and then bake it in the oven. And if you take cake, that leftover cake, whatever, slice it thin, bake in the oven, it'll make something like a biscotti, a rusk. So yeah, it certainly won't go to waste, but it just wasn't pretty enough to decorate compared to our nice flat level cake, which was the one over here. So I want to show you how we're going to decorate this. And actually, when I got married last year, June, we did our cake exactly like this, where I used this, actually this particular tin. I did 3 cakes on top of each other to make a high stack. And then I did exactly that same thing. As I said, the frosting is called naked frosting. You don't want it to be completely smooth. You want it to look quite rustic. And then I'm going to do a salted caramel on top, which is going to be our lotus spread. So this is your magic secret weapon. Literally take your cake, and your lotus is now in the microwave, and then you literally put it there for 30 seconds. I think that anyone who lives in Israel is going to know exactly what lotus spread is, but if you haven't ever used it, it's both parve and vegan, so it has extra uses there. And as you're going to see, in just a couple of seconds, it's very easy to take your lotus and turn it into a salted caramel with no effort at all. Literally the time it takes for the microwave to ping, which is exactly now. So I put that in for 30 seconds, and you are, this one I can do with a little bit of, and as you pour it on, it sets and makes your salted caramel. Now, of course, with this amount of sweetness, you always want to get your salty effect as well. And this is when your molten salt will definitely make a great addition. Molden, by the way, is less salty than regular salt. So it's actually quite hard to over-salt your food when you use Molden, whereas regular salt has got that really acidic, bitter taste. So you get your real kind of like crunch of using your Molden here, and you really get that contrast. And then put that in the fridge and it sets perfectly. But if you hadn't wanted to do your white frosting beforehand, you could literally take just a completely plain cake, and same thing again, take your lotus and then just pour it over like that, and just let it go anywhere you want.
If you want to go in your room, so I'm also going to have some stuff.
There we are. So just let it drip down the sides. You can see it there. And then put it in the fridge and it sets perfectly. So that makes a great filling to put over any cake. Now this, if you put it, once you set it aside, within a couple of hours, it sets solid again. So you don't have to end up ever discarding it, and it can again just be used for sandwiches or whatever. But it looks really, really pretty with the drips. You aren't getting the full effect just yet because it has to still set, and you serve it on a pretty plate and you're pretty much done with that. I'm going to show you our bread and then our final recipe. There we are. Bread is now ready to go. So here we go. There's our round loaf, which you can see, even though I didn't do another second rise, it rose up perfectly and makes a really, really good loaf. My neighbor always ends up, when I did my last Telfed demonstration, they got this knock at the door. So I think that they've got 3 teenage boys. So I've got this really nice loaf of bread, and that's just from the amounts that I made. By the way, with the 4 cups, if you want to make 2 loaves, people often obviously want to make 2 loaves. I wouldn't do 8 cups of flour. It can be hard to mix. Rather just do 2 separate bowls. You see that there's no work in just mixing it through. So there's your 1 loaf over there. And then our second is the one that's that little bit more dramatic, which it really, I hope you can see it from this angle, because it really looks pretty, as your pomegranate. So you've got the bowl in the center, which is where your honey would go. That top part that you didn't pinch down has made the crown of your pomegranate. And then you serve at the table, and people are all oohing and ahhing about the fact that you have a pomegranate honey bowl. There's an edible pomegranate honey bowl. So just for that one little effort of just literally making your roll, your braid around your bowl, you have something that really is very seasonal and really, really appropriate. And then we're just in time to finish with my last recipe, which is going to be the simplest, easiest 4-ingredient chocolate fudge using one of my all-time favorite ingredients, which apart from molten salt is going to be tahina. So we're going to be doing that over here. So the trick here is you really do want to use a decent chocolate, because when you only have a couple of ingredients, you want to make sure that the ingredients you use are good ingredients. So I'm going to be using a 72% chocolate, but you can very successfully use 60%. But whenever I'm buying chocolate, I always say don't go less than 60. The moment you go less than 60 on dark chocolate, you end up with a very sugary taste. This is Schneider's, which is a wonderful, it's a French brand, reasonably priced, and always amazing results. It's a great eating chocolate as well as baking, and we do have that at Meatland. But any 60% chocolate is going to do the job. So there we go. So it's 200 grams of a 60% chocolate, or in this case, as I said, 72%. So this batch is going to be particularly good. And then that honey. Here we are. So honey for Rosh Hashanah. I'm going to add a cup of tahina. Now, tahina gourmet, which is of course the whole tahina. Any brand is going to do a job, especially in something like this. But whenever I am wanting to buy tahina, this is always the one that I look for. You do definitely, when you're making regular tahina, you will get very different results from this. When you're baking with it, it's not going to make a difference. But here, I would find that I would stick with this one over there. I'm not sure if you can hear the background noise of my dog, who I think is smelling the bread that when it comes out of the oven. I have a very elderly golden retriever who has a yeast obsession. So anything bread-like is going to definitely get his attention, so that woke him up. So yeah, now we're trying to get him out of the house. So just a cup of tahina. There we are. And then it's going to be honey. If you didn't want to use honey, if you either didn't have honey or if you were serving vegans who are very strict, you can just use silan. But I'm going to use honey over here. So 3 tablespoons of honey, and just literally heating it through just until it's melted. We'll leave that for a minute or so, but I will show you what it's going to look like. So once it comes out of the oven, it's literally our chocolates. I've just cut them into lengths over here, and then I've just added walnuts to that as well. So just put that in the fridge. It must stay in either the fridge or the freezer because it's very heat sensitive. So you don't want to put it out for long, but it's amazing. People can't taste what the magic ingredient is. You get almost like a slight chalva tone to it, but it's just like very, very silky. Of course, it is it is gluten-free, it is vegan as well. If you're going to be using your silan, or if you haven't got a particularly fussy vegan who's prepared to happily have the honey there. It's very appropriate for Rosh Hashanah, and it makes a great ending to a meal. So that's your chocolate tahina fudge. Just would mix that through. And hopefully you got to hear me properly, got to see as much as you could. It's never easy with these Skype, these Zoom classes, not knowing what can and can't be seen. But I'm always available, both online or in real life or by phone, to answer any questions you may have. I know that there might be gaps that I wasn't able to cover in the time that we have together. And of course, it's very much working in a vacuum because I can't see your faces and I can't get your responses. And of course, I can't get your questions. But I really would love to be able to make it all easier for you and to share more of what I've done. So that's it. Is there anything people would like to ask?
Wow. Thank you so much, Lisa. Thank you. So there are a couple of questions that some people have asked you on the chat. You can either read them yourself or I can read them for you. One of them.
Thank you. I'm seeing some over there. It's lovely to see old faces. I think for me, of course, where my camera is, I couldn't reach across and see anyone. So it's lovely to be able to see familiar names and know that people were out there.
Well, you should know that you had over 100 people out there.
Oh, that's nice to know.
Even more. And fantastic. And we're very grateful. So let's see if we can answer some of the questions that somebody's asked. And also everybody's welcome to unmute themselves, put your hand up, and Aviva will allow you to ask the question in person.
Okay.
Ethel, you go ahead while Lisa reads her question. Ethel, would you like to ask a question?
Not me.
Thank you for joining us anyway.
I'm looking forward. I'm enjoying seeing your messages.
Lisa, do you see the questions? Or shall I?
My screen, I can only see about 4 names. So I thought there were only 4 of you the entire time. I thought, okay. I knew I was in competition with Trump. So I thought, oh, well, I kind of like, so if I've just got the 4 of you, at least hopefully I can give you a good enough show.
That's amazing, Lisa. Thank you so much. Before we answer before I tell you the questions, I just wanted to say thank you so much for giving us of your time. I know how much work and preparation goes into this. We appreciate it so much. You're incredible.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So the first question we have here from Andy is, I think, for the challah. Is it the same when you use white spelt flour?
Have you ever had any experience in working with spelt flour? So I'll never say to you that, you know, I can say for sure it would. In all honesty, this is one of those recipes where the effort was literally as much as just mix your water into your challah and into your bread and just let it sit. So if that's the only effort it's worth trying, I generally find that these recipes are very adaptable and you get very good results. I think the only time I find it doesn't work is when you're going to be using something with whole wheat flour, because the moment you use whole wheat flour, you end up with it being very heavy. So if you aren't going to ever substitute with whole wheat flour, you should rather do some whole wheat and some white. You can't just do it on its own. By the way, I just want to show you it's now all melted. And now into that, I'm going to add just some nuts. And then it would just go straight into my tin. And then it's going to be then making your fudge like that. Okay, next question.
Okay, another question here is, how long do you bake the chalot for and at what temperature?
As I said, all that will be in the notes that come across. But I always say that 180 is normally my magic go-to temperature. I've always done everything at 180. So you could do it either at 180 or 200. No higher than 200. And it goes in for around about 35 minutes. With a challah that size, 35 minutes, 40 minutes maybe. But you'll see that you'll see that it's golden. And you get consistently good results every time.
Great. The next question here is, could Lisa tell us where those little loose bottom cake tins are from?
Those are actually borrowed from a friend of mine. So she got them from Amazon and they're really, really nice. So whenever I have any sort of, occasion, I always say, well, can I borrow your tins? Because they're great. So she did order them online. I think she paid almost nothing for them, but she got 3 as a set. So that's what they look like, and I'd be happy to ask her. She could look in her history and give me the link, because it's a really nice size, and you get a great result when you stack them on top of each other.
Amazing, thank you. If there's anyone else that has a question, feel free to speak, to ask Lisa your questions.
How much sugar was added to the yeast for the challah?
It was 3 tablespoons of sugar.
Hi.
I can't see you, I can just hear you, but 3 tablespoons of sugar, only because this is quite a sweet challah. When I'm doing a regular challah, like a regular bread, I either don't add any sugar at all, or I'll use like 1 or 2 teaspoons. But I wanted it to be a sweet challah, and as I said, it can also be used as a bread for cinnamon buns or challah buns or brioche or whatever it is.
Is there anyone else?
Hi, can I ask a question?
Yes, go for it.
Where will we be able to find these recipes?
The recipes, okay. Well, firstly, did you register through the link, or through Telfed, or through Facebook, or through WhatsApp, or anything else? Did you register through the Telfed link originally?
Aviva will be able to send the recipes to anybody who sends her an email. Put your email up in the chat and we'll be
I've got everybody's email that registered via the Telfed link. So everybody that I have on my system, I will send
Some people I know registered through Facebook. I know I put up the link on Facebook, and some people might have got the link through that. So I'll find a way, even if it maybe what I'll probably do is, once I have the recipes out, I'll also put them on Facebook. I can put them through the Meatland page as well. And of course, I'm always available at Meatland and through Telfed. If you have to find Telfed's address, you can also find it there.
So again, thank you so much for that. Even I got a few tips on baking, and I'm sure not a good baker, but if I can have a dressing like that on my cake, I'll eat it as well.
Oh no, it's really, really good. I'm just looking at this. I can show you. Just you can see it over there, and like now that I'm not rushed, and I know that you can see just really, really pretty.
I took a picture of the salad with the with the red bits added. So
Yes, the red bits added. So I'll do that quickly now because I know that it gets quite rushed at the end. So before we go, I'm going to just take you through a couple of things that I can take you. So yeah, there was this, just to recap, especially for people who joined us late, and you'll know then when I send out the recipes what I'm sending out. So this is the Brink bowl, which is your rice, and I've done that with a fake salmon, and it looks really, really pretty. And that's served then with your like soya ginger dressing, which is delicious. And then you have your Vietnamese noodle salad. And I saw my daughter commented, and so she's out there, so she can see that I'm using the beautiful bowl that she gave me. So that was my Vietnamese of noodle salad. Super easy, just literally the effort is just soaking noodles in water for all of 2 minutes. So that was our Vietnamese noodle salad over there. I can take pictures as well. We have our chocolate, 4 ingredients, chocolate fudge with the tahina and the walnuts, which is really amazingly delicious if you like the tahina over there. We spoke about, we have also our cakes, which is our just the drip cake over there, either with the icing or without, which is very decadent. This one over there, by the way, this cake over there, I'd taken it from the fridge, so it was already cold. So although you might not be able to see, the frosting is already all set on it. That lotus spread has set into a solid layer as well, which looks amazing, and no one ever thinks that it's just your lotus. And then we have our, the people, as I said, who are joining later, we have our sushi, stacked sushi cake, and you can see the stripes over there. You can do that with a piece of paper, a piece of card, just to get that, and it's really pretty to do your cakes with the lines on top of it. And then we have our 2 different breads, being our, now that they aren't hot, I can show you properly. So we have our round challah, which was just that 2-strand plait that we sort of spiraled up, and then you have over here our pomegranate with the place for your honey. Looks like a teddy bear from this angle. I'm not sure if it looks like a teddy bear from your angle, but from my angle, it looks like a teddy bear waving. So it's a pomegranate, also teddy bear waving, but either way, it's going to definitely look good when it's lying flat. It's definitely more pomegranate-like. It's only when you hold it up. So we have that over there, and then of course, as I said, we just had our salmon, our fake salmon. So that'll just help you if there's something you needed to recap on.
Lisa, can I just ask one question?
Yes, of course.
Once the fudge is melted, what do you do with it?
Sorry?
Once the fudge is melted in the pot?
Oh, once the fudge is melted in the pot, so here's my fudge, it's got the nuts in it. And all I'd be doing, I don't have this tin available because I have this fudge in it, but I literally just pour it into the your tin and put it in the refrigerator. That's it.
Oh, wonderful.
The fridge or the freezer. But it must stay there until you're ready to serve, because it will. I mean, at the moment, I've had this out for a little while. It's still perfectly firm, but in another half an hour or so, of course, it's also summer. Oh, I'm actually glad you asked that question, because I did want to say that what we have as well, which is really useful for this, is we have little ready baked pie shells at Meatland, like little round ones. And the great thing about that is you can put any filling into that. Something like this, and then the nice thing about that is that you then don't have to worry about the temperature. Then you can just fill it because you've got like a pastry shell around it, and then if you put that inside, you would then have like a little pastry shell with a fudgy center in the middle. So that's really useful if you do want to do something in advance and put it out in advance. Like let's say you're having a party or something, you want to put it out, you don't want to be running to the fridge to go and get it, or keeping an eye on it in case it melts. So when you put it in those little pastry cases, it works brilliantly.
I'm so glad I asked.
I'm glad you asked as well. Otherwise I would have cursed that I forgot to include that information. So I'm glad about that.
Thank you,
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
You're
Faith.
most welcome.
Fonda, what about you? Would you like to ask a couple of questions from Eilat? You have to unmute yourself first. Unmute yourself.
I'm still learning.
There you go. You've done it. How are
I've
you,
done-
Fonda?
Done it. Unfortunately, I kept seeing myself on the screen and very little of Lisa. I need another lesson, Teddy and Aviva.
Next,
I know what I did wrong. It was
Happily-
excellent, Lisa. And
Thank you.
how you packed so much into an hour is actually incredible. Really.
Well, it's an hour to make and probably about 3 hours to clean up the kitchen afterwards. So we do have to confess that part.
Unbelievable what you put into it. Really. So
Thank
many
you.
interesting,
Thank
very
you.
interesting recipes.
I'm glad.
Thank you so
Excellent.
much.
Well,
Really
as I said, just make sure that everyone gets them. I would hate people to have spent this time and thinking, oh, I want to make this, and then discover they haven't got the
Everybody's
recipe.
welcome to send an
So-
email to Aviva. She will send them on if nobody gets it. If you don't.
Perfect. If anyone, yeah, you can always track me down, whether it be on Facebook or WhatsApp or Meatland or Telfed.
Do you have
Andy, would you like to say something? Andy Alpert.
Hi, Lisa from Jerusalem.
Hi, Andy. How are you doing?
Do you have the packet the noodles came in? Can we see what the noodles look like?
Yes, of course.
Are they just,
Go. They look, these ones are just like, there we go. They look exactly like that.
perfect.